So I've kind of been in a TV slump lately. Other than weekly shows like The Boys and Mandalorian, I haven't really been able to find any TV shows that have truly caught my interest. After my friend told me about this show he found called His Dark Materials, I was like, screw it, I'll give it a chance. Plus it had James McAvoy, which is one of my favorite actors working right now, so I had to check it out. And in my honest opinion, the fantasy genre in terms of movies and TV shows has been kinda dry for me. I haven't seen much new fantasy that's actually grabbed my interest in the past few years, except for maybe The Lighthouse, but that movie's in a whole genre of its own. And His Dark Materials sort of re-sparked that interest in me, so I'm going to talk about why you should watch it if you haven't already. So let's get into the video. Also real quick, if you guys haven't already, please click the subscribe button. It's free and you can always unsubscribe if you hate me. I'd really appreciate it, and enjoy the video. I would like to preface that I have not read the books at all or know much about them, so this review is purely going to be from the TV show's perspective. So if you don't know what His Dark Materials is about, it takes place in a world parallel to ours. It's similar in some ways and very distinct in others. Everyone in this world has something called a demon, spelled like Damon, which is their inner self in the form of an animal. Your demon will constantly change forms until you come of age, where it'll settle into an animal similar to your personality. And we follow a young girl, Lyra, trying to find her missing friend and uncovering a mystery. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's the best way I could put it without spoiling anything. So let's talk about what makes the show really good. I really love how the story can balance its fantastical elements and its themes. Despite a lot of people labeling this as young adult fantasy, it has some really dark and mature themes. But I think people label it as YA because I think someone could watch this and appreciate it mainly for its fantasy aspects. But some people will also pick it up and be surprised by its criticism of authoritarian government and organized religion. It's very elegant in the way it presents those things, and it works much better than, let's say, Harry Potter, where Voldemort and the Death Eaters sort of represent white supremacy and racism. Which I love Harry Potter, but that whole thing has always felt chewed in and only touches the surface of those pretty important themes, while His Dark Materials delves into them and hides them under a coming-of-age fantasy story. So if you enjoy philosophical and thematic shows, you would really love this, and if you aren't, you could still enjoy this for its fantastical world and great characters. Now onto the technical parts of the show. Yeah, it's so beautiful, and the CGI is actually really good for a TV show of this budget. The score is also on point, and most TV shows don't really have that great of a score, mainly because of lower budget, but this one actually felt like it could be in a movie. And that theme song slaps so hard.
Yo, yo, yo! Ah!
I heard a lot of complaints about Lin-Manuel Miranda's acting, and I don't really think he's that bad. It's just weird that he's the only one in the entire show with a Texas accent, and it kind of feels like he's overacting compared to everyone else at times. So I don't really have a problem with this performance, I just have a problem with his accent. James McAvoy is also really great in the show, but to my surprise he wasn't even in the show that much. He's only in 2 episodes I think, and he was supposed to have a complete standalone episode with just himself in the 2nd season, but they couldn't finish that because of COVID, so I'm hoping we get that episode of the next season and more of him. I think the only technical flaw in the show is that the editing can sometimes be really clunky. Certain episodes have a really bad flow to them, and sometimes it feels like they get to one place to another in 3 seconds. I only noticed that problem in certain episodes though, so. The first 3 episodes are kind of mediocre. I won't lie and say that they do a pretty crappy job of introducing the world. The characters and actors are all great and stuff, but it's just not as interesting as the rest of the season. The world doesn't feel like fantasy world, it just feels like ours. His Dark Materials is supposed to share some similarities to our world, but it's supposed to be a world driven by faith and religion. But they don't show any of that, it's just told to us, and then we see these very uninteresting environments. But they fix this in later episodes, and the world is much more fascinating and extraordinary. So when you watch this, finish the first 3 episodes, and then trust me, it gets way better after that. Now, the first 3 episodes aren't even my biggest problem with the show. Some of my favorite shows even fluctuate in quality from time to time. My biggest problem are the demons. The bond between a human and a demon is something that's said to be really important in the show, but we don't actually see any of it. Without that small excerpt at the beginning of the show, we probably wouldn't know anything. The relationship between Lyra and her demon isn't really shown all that much throughout the first season. There's a lot of Pan in the first episode, but there's less and less of him as it goes on. And everyone else's demon is only in a shot or two, so it doesn't help how we don't even get to see other people's demon interact with them. It could be because of budget constraints, but there was a lot of CGI scenes in the latter half of the show. Like, I actually found Lyra and another character's bond to be way more investing than Pan and Lyra's, which is a huge problem, since that bond between a demon and a human is supposed to be like a lifelong and magical bond. So I kind of found it to be a problem. Now, Season 2 actually fixes most of the problems I had in the previous season. Season 2 gives us more time with demons, but still not as much as I would have liked, but it's a massive improvement. Season 2 also looks much better, and it feels much more fantastical as they explore more of the magic in the story. We also get to see more of what's going on within the Magisterium and the destruction they're causing, so Season 2 is an improvement all around. But the season finale still had a weird editing issue, but that's really a nitpick since I think most people won't really notice that type of thing while watching. But I think what people might dislike is the fact that characters' motivations are kind of left vague a lot of the time. Sometimes it works and it even actually adds to the character, but other times it just feels like characters are just doing what the plot wants them to do, and their actions just feel really inconsistent. So it can be really hard to connect to certain characters sometimes. So yeah, I think Season 1 is good despite a couple issues and had a lot of potential, and Season 2 improved on that and created one of my favorite fantasy shows ever. So I'm going to give Season 1 a 3.5 out of 5, and Season 2 a 4. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!
And I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe. And I get more ass than a toilet seat. 3 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I met a bad bitch last night.